National team as we are set to get underway here. This is the first meeting between the U.S. Virgin Islands and USA since they met in 2003 in the Tournament of Americas in Puerto Rico. And we are underway. Jason Kidd out top, and it looks like the Virgin Islands are coming out in a zone here.
Good idea, something that Venezuela didn't do at all last night, but of the flow.
There we've got just an example of maybe one of the soft spots in his game. He sometimes is known to struggle at the free throw line. The United States shooting just 69% from the charity stripe last night in their win. And LeBron James with a steal. Gets it back from Kidd. Great passing, and Carmelo fouled at the rim. And he earns 2 free throws. That's where the United States will out-talent other teams most of the time in transition, Bill.
2 possessions and 2 trips to the free throw line. Great ball movement. It never touches the floor. And lo and behold, there's Carmelo Anthony once again. Always able to fill up the stat sheet, running the floor when it appeared as if it would be LeBron James and Jason Kidd all by themselves. But this guy, Carmelo Anthony, can really play.
Carmelo last night had 17 points against Venezuela. He's USA Basketball's Athlete of the Year, based mostly on his wonderful performance in the World Championships. Averaged almost 20 points a game, and he made the All-World Championship team, first team.
Mark, there was no shoot-around for the United States today. They took the morning off, although they did have their customary meeting, and that's where all the players were made aware of Kobe Bryant's birthday today, and they were all feeling so sorry for him about getting so old at 29.
What do you give a guy that seemingly does have everything? As that was Kevin Shepard driving to the cup and getting the bucket to fall.
You say seemingly everything. Kobe may be the best player in the history of basketball to never win the most valuable player of the NBA.
Interesting. There's Dwight Howard knocking it off the top of the rim.
Perfect example of the goaltending rule that's allowed. Once it hits the rim, it is live for either team.
Dwight Howard missing the easy layup inside. Virgin Islands with an opportunity, dare I say, to take the lead here, Bill.
The United States has never trailed in this tournament after getting out to a 9-0 lead last night against Venezuela. That game never in doubt.
And Virgin Islands with the lead after that bucket by Jason Edwin. The 6'5" 26-year-old averaged 6 points a game in the recent Pan Am games for the Virgin Islands. Underneath, Carmelo Anthony with a nice layup and a sweet feed out top.
While the Virgin Islands team does not have the talent the United States has, they have the experience. Almost their entire roster has played college basketball in the United States, and 5 or 6 of their players went to 4 years of college, and the only player on the U.S. roster that went to 4 years of college was Tayshaun Prince, who's coming off the bench.
There's a definitive New York type of feel to the Virgin Islands team. Several of their players played high school basketball in the area, and Carmelo Anthony knocks down a 3-pointer. The USA leading 7-4, and Carmelo Anthony has all 7 points for the United States.
The United States shot 38% from behind the shortened arc last night. 62% the USA from 2-point range.
That time Reimer had it knocked away. Good defense by the United States, and LeBron James finishes with the flush.
Mike Miller, good to see him in uniform tonight. He was the one concerned with the tweaked ankle last night. Reports from Las Vegas here, and the coaching staff is that Mike Miller will be fine. Traveling violation is a perfect example as to why you don't jump in the air to pass the ball.
Good steal there by Kobe Bryant to start the transition, Bill.
One of the great things that Krzyzewski has at his disposal is that all of these guys can handle the ball.
John hammers it home, and the United States now leading 9-4.
Which one of these Virgin Islands players is going to be able to break down the United States defense?
Underneath, and one opportunity coming up. Kitwana Reimer, the 6'10" 29-year-old, muscling inside. LeBron James with a nice show and go for the baseline slam. LeBron last night had 11 points against Venezuela in limited minutes, really.
Everybody will play limited minutes on this roster for Krzyzewski. They've got so many weapons. And that's one of the reasons why they're the prohibitive favorites, not only to win this tournament, but to win the Beijing Gold as well.
Here's LeBron on the wing. There was a little bit of talk about him perhaps not playing this summer. He and his girlfriend recently having their second child together, and whistle underneath after the Kobe Bryant jump shot. But LeBron, like so many others, giving up their summers selflessly and honoring the 3-year commitment that they made to the USA basketball program. Here back once again.
If they had beaten Greece a year ago in Japan, they wouldn't have had to play in this tournament. They would have already qualified.
Howard comes up with the steal. Jason Kidd looking for the push. Carmelo Anthony converting with the 3, and it's 17-7. Carmelo on fire here early. They have turned the Virgin Islands over, Bill, 4 times already.
The Virgin Island team, they are ranked 38th in the world. Venezuela 21st. But already the Virgin Islands look better tonight than at any point for Venezuela last night against the United States.
And on this move, it's Jason Edwin with the drive-by and the and-one opportunity coming up.
Well, 2 3-point play opportunities already for the Virgin Islands.
Watching Kobe Bryant play defense on Edwin that time brings back what we were talking about last night, and that, you know, Kobe Bryant went up to Coach Mike Krzyzewski prior to the tournament during training camp and said, I want to cover the best offensive player on the other team that we face in every single game. And Krzyzewski was even saying after last night's victory that you have to be impressed with the tenacity that Bryant showed on defense. Here's a guy that's had 5 or 4 50-point back-to-back games.
When your best players are your hardest working and most committed team players in the tradition of a Michael Jordan, a Larry Bird, a Magic Johnson, a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the greatest players in the history of basketball, it makes everything very easy. Michael Redd from behind the arc, it's his 28th birthday tomorrow, so we'll have to see if they'll milk the juices there.
There'll be a lot of birthday cakes in the locker room.
Well, there was no cake. I was surprised.
Oh, yeah, he's on that diet now, Kobe, right? He can't touch cake. That's out of bounds.
You can have a good, healthy piece of carrot cake, maybe.
Okay.
Without any frosting.
And Dwight Howard feasting on the Virgin Islands underneath with that block, and he comes up with another one.
LeBron, what a great tip.
A 3-on-1. A great teamwork, and the slam by LeBron James. They transition from defense to offense in a blink. And the United States leading by 10.
United States razor sharp right now. Everything going well. Taking advantage of not having the morning shoot around, so they come out fresh, ready to explode. Dwight Howard is everywhere.
Eligar's jump shot is no good on the turnaround. Here's Redd. Michael Redd had a very productive night. Had 17 last night. Carmelo feeling it. Boy, they were holding Dwight Howard with everything but handcuffs that time underneath, as Virgin Islands called for the foul.
The tip out by LeBron, who races up the floor, and Michael Redd just lays it up there for the flush finish. The United States is razor sharp. Everything going well. And Carmelo Anthony is coming up the court just thinking shot from the minute he crosses half court.
Michael Redd, meanwhile, knocks down a jump shot. That's his first field goal of the game. And Michael Redd, we said it last night, along with Mike Miller of the Memphis Grizzlies, 2 key additions for the United States roster, Bill, because of the fact that we're going to see a lot of zones. The United States will see a lot of zones when we face the Serbias, the Spains, and this is why Michael Redd is in the roster and on the lineup.
Michael Redd down another one. It's been the surprise of the camp on both ends. He is showing why he is the United States' best shooter.
24-9, the United States out to another early lead. LeBron James eye to eye with the rim. He's got his pilot's license to fly. Back after this. It's the second game of the Tournament of the Americas for the United States, and they are perfect 1-0 so far. This is their second game against the Virgin Islands, and so far off to a good start. Bill Walton shooting 75% from the field, 9 of 12. Carmelo Anthony, the team's leading scorer, but Michael Redd has been the big story on the last couple of possessions. He has scored 5 consecutive points.
Michael Redd would have been on last year's team, but he was excused because he was getting married. He's a career 39% shooter from behind the NBA arc, had a career best 27 points per game in an injury-marred season for Milwaukee a year ago.
Jason Kidd comes up with another pinch for the USA.
The United States is up in the passing lanes. They're not worried about getting backdoored. They've got Dwight Howard behind them. He's not out there. They've got Amari Stoudemire. Amari Stoudemire's not out there. It's Tyson Chandler, who played the fewest number of minutes for the United States last night. 10 minutes for Tyson Chandler. There's that zone defense.
Attacking it in.
And while some would say that Michael Redd's presence on the team last year, they wouldn't even have to play this summer, one of the arguments against that, Mark, is that
I happen to agree with that, by the way.
But will Michael Redd be on the court if the game is really tight? Who's he gonna? You're gonna take LeBron out? You're gonna take Carmelo out? You're gonna take Kobe out? Michael Redd is not the ball-handling type of guard.
Well, you know what? If you're looking at a Spain or a Serbia or Lithuania, a team that's going to pack it in with big people underneath, I think you have to have a shooter like he or Mike Miller on the floor. And if this truly is a situation where the stars, the Quasars like Kobe, like LeBron, like Melo, are to subordinate their egos a little bit, well, it won't be a problem, right?
You go tell those guys that they're sitting on the bench. But our congratulations to Michael Redd, who was the 43rd overall pick in the 2000 draft. He just 2 years ago signed a 6-year, $91 million contract.
And you gotta love a guy who buys his father, a pastor, by the way, a brand new church in Columbus, Ohio, with some of the proceeds of that brand new contract. The United States leading 26-9. Outside shot, no good. Rebounded by Dwight Howard. Jason Kidd attempting the bounce pass out of bounds off of the Virgin Islands as Stoudemire and Billups get set to check into the ball game. And don't forget that FIBA America's Championship action continues Saturday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. The United States takes on Canada. Canada winning today against Venezuela, bouncing back. But the bad news for the Canadian squad there is that Leo Routen's son, Andy, injured his knee. He tore his ACL and his MCL, and he will be done for the entire tournament and will miss his upcoming season at Syracuse as Michael Redd knocks down his second consecutive 3-ball.
How sad for Canada, because things start getting tougher for the United States after the preliminary games against Venezuela and Virgin Islands, not traditional powers in FIBA basketball, but Canada ranked number 16, Brazil 17. Tomorrow, the first day off for the United States, and then it starts getting serious. Redd again.
Michael Redd feeling it.
We are seeing a team, the United States, that is so focused, so determined. One of the things that's really got them going is that Jerry Colangelo has wisely brought in Spencer Haywood as sort of a legend and a host for the whole tournament. And Spencer is there at all the games, all the functions for the team, and he has really become a mentor to a lot of these players. Spencer Haywood, the youngest player to ever represent the United States in the Olympic Games. That was 1968, barely edging out LeBron James from the Athens Games just 3 years ago.
So I knew that wonderful Walton trivia was just around the bend. USA leading 32-9, and in a very staunch man defense still. Edwin's jump shot is off the mark, rebounded by Carmelo Anthony. The United States doing a nice job on both ends. The offensive and defensive boards, and Michael Redd electing to drive into the bucket that time, and he's fouled on his foray to the cup.
And all of these players who never went to college, they should be personally thanking Spencer, or maybe even giving them part of their paycheck.
I know where you're going on
because he's the guy in 1971 when he sued the NBA to allow the underclassmen, because there used to be a rule that before 1971 and the successful lawsuit by Spencer Haywood that you had to have gone to 4 years of college before you could enter the NBA, and my, how things have changed.
Michael Redd, meanwhile, knocks down the free throw. Redd Averaged almost 27 points a game this year with the Milwaukee Bucks, and already has 12 points. The meter still running with 2:17 to go here in the first quarter.
But Michael suffered that devastating left knee injury last season. There was a meaningless dunk he threw down with only 14 seconds to go against Cleveland and LeBron in early January in a game that was already decided. They were losing badly by 9 points, and he went to throw it down and he strained that patella tendon in his left knee. It sure seems fine right now.
His stroke's okay. Mike Miller, another dead-eye shooter in the ball game, and Virgin Islands finally getting a bucket. That was Jameel Haywood, the 6'6", 30-year-old who averaged 5.6 points a game in the recent Pan Am competition. LeBron taking a break on the sidelines. The United States leading 34-11. At stake here, 2 spots to the Olympic Games when the dust settles on September the 2nd.
The United States has never lost in FIBA America's Championship.
Michael Redd driving that time, and he's fouled by Carl Krauser. That is Carl Krauser, who played at Pitt for 4 years. Out of the Bronx, New York. You think back to some of the days when the college guys used to play against some of the other countries, Bill, and I remember watching a game in particular, 1976, Butch Lee lighting up the United States. And I'm saying to myself, I don't remember Butch Lee being Puerto Rican when he was playing for Marquette, but he had roots in that country.
The eligibility rules are always nebulous in international competition. And while Tim Duncan was born in the Virgin Islands, very few of these guys representing the Virgin Islands today were born there, but at some point they had to have some relative in their ancient lineage that allows them to qualify as a representative of that spectacularly beautiful Caribbean island archipelago that consists of 60+ islands, the main ones being St. John's, St. Croix, and St. Thomas.
Pass batted away underneath. Saw Michael Redd get a breather on the bench. Chauncey Billups in now, along with Stoudemire, Mike Miller, and Tayshaun Prince. Here's Miller from outside, and Miller gets on the score sheet in the blink. 39-11.
The last time, the only time that the Virgin Islands have played the United States, the game that Tim Duncan voluntarily stepped aside for, the United States won by 58 points without Tim Duncan. But my sense, I was part of that.
He was a little self-conscious, didn't want to play against his countrymen. Understandably so.
I think it's a tremendous gesture to say, hey, look, that's my country. I don't want to go out there and pound them. But my sense is that Tim Duncan did not have a good time at the Athens Olympics. And as it's moved on and they've won more championships since then, and I'm not sure if we're going to see Tim Duncan in the international competition anymore.
I think he's done.
He's done his job. Sadly, he did not get the gold medal that all these players so desperately crave.
39-13. You speak of the adjustments to international officiating. Tim Duncan in particular had a tough time with some of the calls made against him in Athens. And when you look at the tape and remember the games, you understand perfectly why. Darren Williams kicks it out to Tayshaun Prince.
But this team has much better chemistry. Not only player-to-player chemistry, but player-to-coach chemistry.
Here's Krauser. Krauser kicks it back out.
Krauser, they call him Black Magic from the Rucker Leagues in the streets of New York.
Here's Prince with the rebound.
You have to be impressed with the job Krzyzewski, Nate McMillan, Mike D'Antoni, and Jim Boeheim, the coaching staff for the United States has done here to get these guys so well prepared in a game where they pretty much think we're going to win this one.
The United States three-point marksmanship tonight has been on point as Chauncey Billups knocks down another one. You're watching the 2007 FIBA America's Championship from the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. The entertainment capital of the world, and an entertaining one so far by the USA. Back with more right after this. Back at the Thomas & Mack Center, the first 10 minutes of the first quarter in the books. The United States leading 42-13. They were sizzling from the field. 76% shooting, including 8 of 10, Bill Walton, from behind the three-point arc.
And that is a tremendous sign, because last night they were 38%, which is a very good number, but even I, with my limited mathematical skills, can figure out and read the graphic that 8 for 10 is 80%. But last year, when the United States lost to Greece in the semifinals of the World Championship tournament in Japan, they only shot 32% as a team in going down in monumental fashion to a red-hot Greek team.
Virgin Islands with the ball. The jumper off the mark by Edwin, but he's fouled on the attempt. And getting back to that three-point shooting by the United States, Bill, as Darren Williams whistled for the foul, there's a bit of a rub there, because, yes, it is a shorter distance, 20 feet 6 inches, as opposed to 23.9 in the NBA. But you can almost fall in love with taking it too much, can't you? And that's the lure.
That's what happens in college basketball all the time. That's pretty much a layup for anybody who's got a game whatsoever. I'm a big proponent, Mark, of standardizing all the rules,
yes,
with the globalization of the game. But then you're talking about kingdoms, fiefdoms, giving up their power, giving up their identity. And with the NBA becoming the dominant force in every aspect of basketball, you have all these other entities saying, hey, we want to continue to receive our level of recognition, credit, respect, and cash dispersion.
Yes. Capitalism, one of the themes worldwide, as Chauncey Billups was fouled going to the bucket. 42-15 with 9:28 to go in the second quarter. The United States will get the day off tomorrow, then resume against Canada. The game you'll see on ESPN, 3 o'clock on Saturday. Mike Miller has it swatted away. Williams goes to Amari Stoudemire. Stoudemire working the baseline and coming with the hammer. Little tap to finish it off on the glass.
No stopping Amari Stoudemire, as the United States has already just moved out to a nearly incalculable margin. And I think we have to start looking at record-setting territories for most points scored in a quarter, in a half, and quite possibly for an entire game, because they're on a 168-point spread right now, and certainly the fans would love to see that in a game played without Paul Westhead coaching.
Wow, great extrapolation too, Bill. Your math, unbelievable. 44-15.
I do know one part of math. That 40 minutos de infierno means 40 minutes of heck. Nolan Richardson, who's coaching the undefeated Mexican team right now, he's got them playing down there.
They beat Puerto Rico in their first game yesterday and looked very impressive doing it. They were in charge for most of that game. And here's one more look at Amari Stoudemire, who says, along with his assistant coach of the Phoenix Suns, Phil Weber, that he's adding a three-point shot to the arsenal that he's seriously been working on this summer. This time, Amari underneath, fouled, and he'll get 2 at the free throw line. Stoudemire saying that he can envision himself being, get this, Bill, the most improved player in the league next year, as well as Finals MVP. Wonderful, lofty aspiration.
I would love to see that be the most improved, and the MVP, and another All-Star, and a league title. But I do not want to see him ever take a three-point shot.
Why?
It's not his game. His game should be underneath the basket. They've got three-pointers. They've got Steve Nash. They've got Raja Bell, who's not playing tonight because he's not on the roster. We just had knee surgery 6 weeks ago.
For the Virgin Islands, yeah.
Right, and we really hope that Raja is going to be all right by the start of the regular season for Phoenix.
Phoenix is an unconventional team, though. Doesn't that give them that much more of an added dimension to have your big be able to step out and shoot threes?
They need low post presence, Mark. I mean, come on, enough of this Kevin Garnett saying I'm a forward. He's a center. Amari Stoudemire is a center. Get down there. Men are made in the paint.
Oh, you're so conventional. Love you. Carl Krauser with the jumper from outside makes it 45-18. Here's Mike Miller back the other way. Tayshaun Prince. A little two-man game here, weak side with Williams. Good ball movement by the United States, and even though Miller can't cash in with the jump shot, they showed a lot of unselfishness on that possession. Here's Krauser for the Virgin Islands. Carl Krauser took Pitt to the NCAA tournament in 4 consecutive years. It's a 3-on-1. No help for Krauser there as he watches Miller on the left-handed layup.
But a nice job by the United States coming back, realizing that when there's only one defender back, keep the ball on the sideline. When there's 2 defenders in a fast break situation, then you keep it in the middle and get to the free throw line. Chauncey Billups just exquisite at running that break.
On the baseline, nice move by Victor. Approaching 7 minutes to go here in the first half. The United States in control.
But they've slowed down offensively. They had 42 points after the first 10 minutes, and now 4 minutes into the second quarter, they've only scored 5 points total. They got that every 30 seconds in the opening quarter.
Well, that's what happens when you set the bar pretty high in the first 10 minutes. Inside, ball knocked away, and then the Virgin Islands get it back. They're trying to go inside to Kitwana Reimer, and it's knocked away by Stoudemire. Well, the WNBA playoffs continue Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN2. Game 2 of the Western Conference matchup between the Sacramento Monarchs and the San Antonio Silver Stars. 2 of the best players in the WNBA matchup as Kara Lawson leads the defending Western Conference champs Monarchs against Becky Hammon and homestanding Silver Stars. The WNBA playoffs on ESPN2, and what a difference Becky Hammon has made this year. A lot of people speculated that that trade to San Antonio from New York wouldn't benefit her, but it has been a blessing for both as Williams converts off the transition.
And here I thought it was the time Becky spent as the sideline reporter on the men's game.
All that insight, huh?
This past season's NBA.
49-20, the United States in control.
But the Virgin Islands, part of the Greater Antilles chain of islands, they're located just east of Puerto Rico and about 1,000 miles south of the furthest south point of Florida.
Which makes for an easy hop on a plane if you live in South Florida like yours truly. Here's Jason Kidd bringing it up court. A 29-point advantage. Kobe Bryant's been conspicuous by his silence, and Tyson Chandler gets on the scoreboard, which he failed to do last night in the game against Venezuela. Chandler brought in to add a little size and shot blocking for the United States.
Chandler, the only player for Krzyzewski's USA team that did not play in the first half last night.
Krauser with a nice move off the dribble to get the open pass, and shot good by Jason Edwin.
And what the advantage of all the depth does for the United States is that nobody has to play too much, whereas every other team with the limited roster capabilities, they're having to have a grind-out struggle every single night. The Hall of Famer Mike Krzyzewski, who's been coaching U.S. national teams since 1979, this guy has a roster that anybody would just salivate.
Brain trust on the USA sideline, very impressive. The jump shot off the mark, and Chandler with the rebound.
And it doesn't even include Chris Bosh or Dwayne Wade, who are both out with injuries. Darren Williams on fire right now.
And speaking of Dwayne Wade, spent a little time with him a couple of weeks ago down in South Florida. And Wade recovering from surgery to his knee and his injured shoulder. The dislocated shoulder that he suffered in February against Houston. Says the shoulder's coming along fine along with the knee. Jump shot good from the top of the key by Reimer, and Wade expects to be back in action on the court somewhere probably around the first week of November, maybe a few games into the regular season. Timeout on the floor. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the Thomas & Mack Center, the FIBA Tournament of the Americas Championship. The United States leading 53-25, and the emergence of Carmelo Anthony continues to be a big storyline.
He has set a pace that no one else can match offensively. Now, Carmelo Anthony is one of only 3 players on the U.S. squad who played on the World Championship team that won the bronze medal. LeBron James, Dwight Howard being the other 2. Carmelo Anthony also the only player on the U.S. roster that has an NCAA championship. Kobe Bryant, the only player who has an NBA championship. He's got 3 of those, courtesy of Shaquille O'Neal.
Carmelo form a little triangle with Bryant now on the low blocks. Kobe Bryant. A little bit off the mark that time, and rebounded by the Virgin Islands coming back in transition. It's Edwin.
a little bit of complacency setting in, a little bit of relaxation after the blistering start. The United States scoring 42 first quarter points. My mathematical calculation shows that they've only scored 11 since then. There's Jim Herrick Sr., who is the father of the assistant coach for the Virgin Islands, Jim Herrick Jr. The last time we heard a lot about the Herrick family was when they were coaching together at Georgia. That ended not so well. Now they're coaching together for the Bakersfield team in the NBDL.
Can't believe you didn't use the prefix UCLA legend.
He coached UCLA to its last NCAA championship in 1995.
Jim Herrick and the head coach, Tavester Anderson.
Things didn't end well at UCLA for Coach Herrick either.
3-27. Tavester Anderson, the head coach of this Virgin Islands team, has been their head coach dating back to 1985. Jason Kidd. Hey, who says that you can lay off Jason Kidd? Knocks down the perimeter jumper, makes it 58-27.
But how about Jason Kidd? Last night plays 15 minutes and doesn't take a shot. Because everybody else is going just a dream point guard, like Steve Nash, like Magic, like Lenny Wilson. He just has no interest in statistics, no interest in individual glory. It's all about the potential of Jason.
Carl Krauser gets hammered to the floor by Tyson Chandler. Let's get back to that Jason Kidd thing. We've all seen scouting reports that say you can lay off him a little bit. In the international game next year, the United States, say hypothetically, playing against Spain, are they going to drop off him? Can you leave him out there with that scenario?
With Jason Kidd, it's a day-to-day adventure on the jumper. The rest of his game, the defense, the rebounding, the passing, the intensity, the intangibles, it's always there. But some days, he looks like as great a shooting point guard as ever played. Other games, you say, this guy can't even make a layup. And it's really remarkable because we've been watching Jason since he was a high school player in Oakland, California. And the fact that he hasn't been able to become a consistent shooter, it's mind-boggling because we know so well how hard this guy works at every part of the game. And I'm intrigued to see if that's going to be the story of beautiful back-cut pass. Kobe Bryant rejecting at the rim. But Carmelo Anthony just zipping that ball.
I could be impressed with the way that they're moving the ball. Anthony going to the free throw line.
One of the limitations on LeBron James' game at this point is the inconsistent outside shot. And if Jason Kidd can't do it, that means that there are some guys who never get to the point where they can't knock it down. Will LeBron James be one of those guys, or as his game evolves, will he become one of the premier perimeter shooters?
Meanwhile, Jason Kidd now 29-0 as a member of the U.S. senior national teams. Remember, he was the captain of the Olympic team back in 2000 that won gold in Sydney, Australia.
And this is the last successful international competition for the United States.
And it was interesting that in the initial meeting back in July when the team got together for 3 days of minicamp, Jerry Colangelo stood up and spoke to the team en masse and said, hey, there's only one guy in here with a gold medal. And he pointed at Jason Kidd. He pointed out that Jason was undefeated, and Jason kind of only half-jokingly turned around to his teammates and pointed to them and said, hey, don't mess around with that record. Dwight Howard committing the foul on the play. 3:09 to go in the first half.
But Jerry Colangelo, who's the head of this whole operation and project for the United States to try to get back to their rightful position, as he points it out, 20 years ago, Jerry Colangelo, after founding the Phoenix Suns in the late 1960s, Jerry Colangelo bought the entire team for $44.7 million. Just this past June, as he walked out the door as the head guy for the last time, as Robert Sarver takes over, on the purchase price of $401 million. That's quite an appreciation. 10 times in 20 years for the Phoenix Suns. What a franchise.
It's a return on investment for sure. 3-on-2. Carmelo fouled and one. Anthony hacked by Ellegar, and he'll get a chance to complete the three-point play off the good feed. Right now, this USA team is a monument to unselfishness when it comes to ball movement here. LeBron with a look away.
Well, all of the key guys really like passing the ball. Now, that caveat has a exemption with Kobe Bryant, who's never been accused of looking to give it up out there. Now, whether playing with Jason Kidd and LeBron and Carmelo will change that remains to be seen.
61-31, under 3 minutes to go here. I'm Mark Jones along with Bill Walton. The second game for the United States in the Tournament of the Americas. Last night they defeated Venezuela. Tonight on the docket, it's the Virgin Islands, and here's Kobe Bryant.
The Virgin Islands, which were named Las Islas Las Virgenes by Christopher Columbus back in the 15th century, because they named the Virgin Islands after St. Ursula in her 11,000 virgin companions and followers. So congratulations to St. Ursula.
I'm just still impressed with your Spanish. Wonderful, especially the 40 minuto di inferno, the 40 minutes of heck. And so far, this Mexican team, actually, coached by Nolan Richardson, one of the good stories, feel-good, warm and fuzzy stories of this tournament of the Americas. Shepard goes to the free throw line off the foul.
Spanish is my sixth language. After stammering, stuttering, stumbling, spitting, maybe a little bit of broken English, and then Spanish, having grown up on the California-Mexican border right there in San Diego.
61-34. There's a look at Sylvester Anderson on the right and Jim Herrick Sr. on the left. Sylvester Anderson, the current head coach at Jackson State.
For Lindsey Hunter, played his college basketball under a true legend, Andy Coughlin. We hope that Andy Coughlin is doing well in retirement. So there's a man down for the Virgin Islands. Can the United States capitalize?
5 on 4 to go inside to Dwight Howard and wisely. The Virgin Islands committing the foul. It's going to go against Kiwana Reimer. And you brought up the name Roger Bell a few moments ago when referring to the Virgin Islands. Roger Bell was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands, eligible to play, but underwent surgery some 6 weeks ago, recovering on schedule, but unable to take part in this competition.
One of the advantages that the Virgin Islands has, as say opposed to Venezuela or Uruguay, is that they never get to play against the real top-tier United States players. But these guys playing college basketball throughout the United States and then going home to reunite for their country, the Virgin Islands, the mystique is not there that so many of the international players have when they come up against the United States as super elite players for the very first time as we come in at the under 2 minute mark of the second quarter.
Howard makes 1 or 2 free throws to make the margin 62-34. If you've watched some of the play here so far, you'd have to say that maybe the only 2 teams that are going to give the United States a run would probably be Brazil, A, and B, Argentina. Brazil had the day off today after defeating Canada yesterday. Argentina played its first game and won against Uruguay. LeBron looking pretty good so far. Back after this. 1:36 to go in the first half. The United States in control, 62-34, but the Virgin Islands, Bill Walton, outscoring the United States 21-20 so far in the second period.
The United States offense has ground to a halt, and some of that is the sense of relaxation after the tremendous spurt at the beginning that got the huge lead. But this United States, they have to find that level of self-motivation, drive, and determination that ignores the opposition and then just goes out and tries to play against an ideal standard of perfection. Carmelo Anthony continues his pursuit of that.
Carmelo Anthony, one of the better mid-range shooters in the league, has that great little jab step series, Bill, and used it effectively that time to give the United States a 30-point lead. Anthony with 15 on 5 of 6 from the field. 1:10 to go here, and that's going to be a foul underneath against the Virgin Islands. Now, in FIBA basketball rules, much like the NBA, you shoot the penalty on the 5th foul. And there's a look at the foul underneath against Reimer.
But you don't shoot offensive fouls at any level of basketball at all. So sometimes in the NCAA level, it's very confusing as to how they allow offensive fouls to be committed while still scoring a basket.
Carmelo Anthony going to earn himself, Bill, another trip to the free throw line that time.
One of the great stories about the Virgin Islands is Walt Frazier. who easily one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history. Walt Frazier, the guy who authored arguably the greatest seventh game in the history of the NBA playoffs. When Walt retired back in the late 70s, he invested in a franchise in the short-lived U.S. Basketball League, and he moved to the U.S. Virgin Islands and obtained a charter boat captain's license. But then when Hurricane Hugo came in 1989 and wrecked everything, destroyed his home, destroyed his business, he came back and became the television analyst on the Knicks broadcast. But now he still has a bed and breakfast, Walt Frazier does, in St. Croix. It is truly a spectacular place, and our congratulations to Walt for truly using basketball to make a better life for himself rather than letting basketball use him. That guy is as great a champion who has ever lived, Walt Frazier.
Pretty innovative thinker, and I just really dig the hats that he used to wear back in the day, frankly, Bill. 65-34 with Kevin Shepard at the free throw line. The 27-year-old averaged about 5 points a game in the recent Pan Am games. The Virgin Islands, Bill, coming off a very significant victory a few months back, and for one of the first times in a very long time, I want to say ever, defeating Puerto Rico, and a lot of the players felt buoyed by the confidence that they gained in that. And for them, a small, tiny island nation like the Virgin Islands, to defeat Puerto Rico, somewhat of a giant on the big picture landscape, was a big accomplishment for them.
It's a very similar program where so many of the players go to college in the United States to learn how to play, but they don't have the population that Puerto Rico has. I mean, Puerto Rico is a major island of one huge one. But with St. Croix and St. Thomas and St. John literally having maybe 50,000 people per island, all the rest of the little cays and islands, literally nobody on them. You're talking a couple of 100,000 people to draw from your talent pool.
Mike Krzyzewski watching as Dwight Howard commits the foul.
You were talking about the upcoming competition with Argentina and Brazil. Brazil looks to be the best team outside of the United States in this competition. Argentina, they're missing their top 5 players, and if you look at it from a big picture point of view for Argentina, it appears that they're just trying to rest their guys, their key guys, Ginobili, Nociones, Oberto, and get ready for next year.
That can be kind of perilous, though. I mean, that's when you're trying out on the last chance, like next July, when if they don't make it here, have to qualify next summer, that can be kind of tenuous.
But the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place finishers will receive automatic berths to next year's pre-Olympic qualifying. They get rested, they come in fresh, they play their NBA season this year for Chicago and San Antonio. Carlos Delfino, he's hurt right now. He's playing for Toronto. The half ends in the United States. They're going to hear it from Mike Krzyzewski about the letdown here, as the second quarter was very competitive, unlike the first.
And Carmelo Anthony doing a lot of the heavy lifting early in the ballgame. 17 points.
Going to take a long time. These injuries are just brutal. Those scores were from a friendly series of tournaments. The European qualifying, which is going to get underway shortly in Spain. It's the European counterpart to what we have here in Las Vegas, the FIBA Tournament of the Americas.
Eurobasket getting underway September the 3rd in Spain. And the Spanish team and some of the team players from Spain that I've had a chance to speak with, really looking forward to getting things back to where they were a season ago when they won the World Championships, and doing it on home soil.
They play a beautiful style, and they were able to win that championship without the services of Pau Gasol, who had broken his foot in the semifinal match. But Greece, after beating the United States, they failed to show up in the gold medal game.
And that's being nice. Here's a look at the teams that have already qualified for the Olympic Games. China gets in as the host nation. Spain gets in as the winner of the World Championships last year. And Iran winning the Asia zone because China already got in.
It's only a 12-team tournament. So 9 spots still to be determined, and you would have to think that the United States would get one of those. But when you look at the Virgin Islands first half scoring, Krauser, we've talked about him at the top. He led the team with 9. Edwin had 9 as well. Shepard had 7. Reimer had 7. And with the Virgin Islands outscoring the United States in the second quarter by 26-24. You have to believe they have the confidence right now to try to make this a more competitive game.
LeBron James with great defensive rotation, coming up with the steal. Kobe Bryant with the reverse. And Kobe with some pyrotechnics on the reverse layup. 71-39. We talked just a few moments ago about how he had a pretty quiet first half, but Kobe Bryant celebrating his 29th birthday today with a sweet layup for the score. And we talked about yesterday, Bill, the fact that he has really dedicated himself to getting in prime condition. Kobe Bryant, look at him, folks. He has lost 18 pounds since the end of his regular season with the Los Angeles Lakers. He says, interesting, he talked about mortality a little bit, said, hey, you know, I'm pushing up on 30 now. The metabolism isn't what it used to be. And Kobe Bryant has always been the type of guy, admittedly, that has been able to get away with eating whatever he wanted to. Pizza, ice cream, hamburgers, all the fun stuff, Bill. But now it's a steady regimen of baked chicken and fish and greens.
But a year ago, he professed to have bulked up to carry a heavier load. This year, it's a different story. And that's really been the story of Kobe Bryant's career. Every single season, it has been some other focus, some other outside element that's defined who he is, and that's one of the major reasons why this, at age 29, is the first time he's ever been able to put on the United States jersey.
Kobe Bryant recently, and within the span of 24 hours this summer, said that first he wanted to be traded by the Los Angeles Lakers, then recanted the majority of those statements, and during the course of this USA Senior Men's National Basketball Team camp and tournament, he has refused in large part to comment on that situation, not wanting to detract from the focus here for the American team.
I can't imagine the Lakers trading. Who are you going to get for him?
Not value, that's for sure.
Well, maybe Steve Nash, but Steve is well into his 30s. Tim Duncan, San Antonio's not trading him. LeBron James, is Cleveland going to trade a 6 or 7 year younger LeBron James for Kobe Bryant, who might not enjoy making that move from Los Angeles to Cleveland?
Here's a look at the foul called against the USA. Kevin Shepard driving to the bucket.
But that was tremendous defense by LeBron James on the wing.
Kevin Shepard, the 27-year-old, averaging 5 points a game in the recent Pan Am games that they played in. He played professional basketball this past season in Venezuela as well as Argentina.
Played his college basketball at Jacksonville University, same place as the legend Artis Gilmore.
Quickly up court, the United States, and there is the Phoenix Suns influence that Mike D'Antoni perhaps has imparted on the USA. The fact that they run out after a make, Bill.
How interesting, though, for all these players to come and play in this wide-open, freelance style. I'm shocked that this basket doesn't count.
It might have in the NBA with the N1.
And then from this, under D'Antoni and Nate McMillan, the NBA guys, then they go back to their regular teams, and their coach is saying, slow it down, call some plays.
Kobe fouled on his move to the bucket. The United States national team continues pool play in the 2007 FIBA Americas Championship through this weekend. Join us Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2 as the United States takes on Canada and finishes out pool play on Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. That's the big one against Brazil. All games also available on ESPN360.com. It's the 2007 FIBA Americas Championship on the ESPN family of networks. That Brazil game going to be very, very interesting. They've got Nene and Leandro Barbosa both playing for Brazil, and Thiago Splitter has looked particularly well so far. A big man, about 6'10", an NBA draft pick by the San Antonio Spurs. Splitter played his European professional basketball in Spain, arguably the best league outside of the NBA, Bill.
It used to be Italy, but it's shifted over to Spain, and Splitter, as Kobe Bryant was serenaded by the fans on his 29th birthday here. It is so nice to see Kobe smiling, but people raving about Splitter. I have not had the privilege of seeing him play yet, but all the coaches for the United States just saying this guy, he has really been a force. and Leandro Barbosa, who had 30 points in their first game for Brazil.
Right now, Bill, you can pick up the vibe a little bit. To hear the chorus, the fans moments ago singing happy birthday to Kobe Bryant. On this, the day that he turns 29. Good defensive help by Dwight Howard. And here's the United States in transition. Jason Kidd back to Carmelo Anthony. Inside, Howard fouled. And speaking with some of the players, they say that Dwight Howard is, quote unquote, they've got new vernacular. He's beasting people. He is just a beast inside, and brings up a point that we were talking about during the break, Bill. Interior scoring. The United States was hurt by interior scoring against Greece in the loss last year in the World Championships. Conversely, does the United States team have enough of that interior scoring at the other end?
This is not the type of roster, big man-wise, that has players in the lineage of Wilt, Kareem, Shaq, Hakeem Olajuwon, 4 of the 5 greatest centers to ever play basketball. These players are, throw Tyson Chandler out, who's not an offensive factor at all. Okay. But Amari Stoudemire, Dwight Howard put up good numbers, but they're more dunkers, they're more finishers off other people's creativity. These are not the type of players, Howard and Stoudemire, who you just say, okay, post them up, give them the ball, run a post split on the ball side, run a down screen or a back screen on the weak side, and say, okay, let's run our offense through that. And that could very easily be a liability for this United States team. Oh, that shot banked in.
Victor knocks it down, and there are going to be times, maybe not this tournament, but next year in the Olympics, provided the United States earns one of the 2 spots here, that they might have to throw it down on the block and get something out of a Dwight Howard or an Amari Stoudemire.
But it's emblematic of the decline of the big man in basketball in general.
Anthony with the bucket.
And with Dwight Howard and Amari Stoudemire both choosing to forego an opportunity to play college basketball. Tim Duncan, the great big man, the greatest big man in the game today, along with Shaquille O'Neal. Between the two of them, they had 7 years of college basketball. 4 for Tim at Wake Forest and 3 for Shaq at LSU.
And Jason Kidd knocks it out of bounds off of the Virgin Islands Elliger. And it's coming back the other way to the United States. Jason Kidd, once again, ubiquitous. He is everywhere. And that pass was everywhere.
Passed it to himself.
Come on. Kobe from downtown coming up a little bit short. Out of bounds. Been a slow night offensively for Kobe Bryant. There's Tavester Anderson, the head coach of the Virgin Islands. Currently the head coach of Jacksonville University.
Kobe seems a little bit more determined to get some shots up in this third quarter.
He's always had a pretty good trigger. And here he is with Jason Kidd on the break.
He put that off the board.
LeBron James for the finish.
You can see that coming.
Lead is 34 points for the United States. Cruising once again.
Jason Kidd poking it away.
Boy, Jason Kidd filling his hat with steals. Kobe had it knocked away by Carl Krauser out of bounds. It'll be United States basketball. This is a team certainly lethal in transition, as shown there. But what happens? The question begs, what happens when a team limits possessions because of the shorter clock? It's only a 40-minute game as opposed to 48. What happens when you've got a shorter game?
And a team that shoots the ball well, which neither Venezuela or the Virgin Islands have done. There's another lob pass.
That one for Dwight Howard with the slam. We've got about 8 or 9 screensavers / Sports Center moments already here in the ball game. Krauser a little bit strong. Kidd on the push.
I'm excited about looking at the opportunity of Dwight Howard playing for Stan Van Gundy, who I think is just a top-tier coach. New coach in Orlando. They're going to get a new building down there, so everyone in Central Florida just ecstatic about the direction of Orlando. For a while there was a question whether they'd even remain in the state of Florida.
Carmelo Anthony at the free throw line with the United States leading 80-44. You think about the journey of Carmelo Anthony after the 2004 Olympic experience, Bill, which was very impropitious for him. He was seen and perceived, true or otherwise, as a bit of a malcontent in Athens while playing for Larry Brown on that team, but the following year after they were eliminated by the San Antonio Spurs, the day after, remember this story, he called up Steve Hess, the Denver Nuggets strength and conditioning coach, said, "Steve, take me out on a run." They went and worked out. He got his body in shape. He dropped about 15 pounds, and he has been a different Carmelo Anthony ever since, really peaking, maybe not, with the World Championship performance last summer.
Well, there were nothing but problems on that Athens Olympic team, on the 2002 Indianapolis World Championship team, which is why they have come with a whole new program. They put Jerry Colangelo, the master administrator, in charge of the big picture. And things are completely different now.
Inside off the inbound pass. Virgin Islands forced to basically take every shot from outside. They're not getting anything near to the cup. Here's Anthony on the move.
Mark, what happens is that you've got the great shot blocker back there in Dwight Howard, and he doesn't have to guard his man. And so the other guys on the United States team, they're just out on the perimeter, and they're just daring the Virgin Islands to drive to the hoop, but they know they don't want to get past the roof, so they're just pulling the trigger against the hand in their face and the duress, and it's just not falling whatsoever. Carmelo Anthony just working so determined to get to that hoop and finish, get to the trip to the free throw line. The Three Stooges defense, though, unable to slow Carmelo down.
Is that like a matchup zone defense?
What, the Three Stooges? No, that's where you poke into the
Frank Elliott with the foul.
I don't know if you're old enough to watch the Three Stooges.
Remember Larry Curly and all. 5:17 to go here in the third quarter of play. The United States in the lead. Carmelo Anthony, the high scorer for the United States with 21 points. Michael Redd did an outstanding job in the first half for the United States. He had 15 points, all coming in the first quarter of play as Tayshaun Prince comes in for Melo. Tayshaun Prince, one of two Detroit Pistons on the squad.
While we have a little lull in the action, I'd like to just give our best wishes to the Van Bredikoff family, because Butch Van Bredikoff, the legendary coach, passed away today at 84 years old. I mean, this was a guy who was still coaching at 71 when he went back to Hofstra, but 13 different head coaching positions, including a high school coach at 61 years of age. He played 4 seasons for the Knicks. Butch Van Bredikoff, he coached Bill Bradley, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Pistol Pete Maravich. He made this world a better place. We are the worse off for his passing.
Well said, Bill. Chauncey Billups knocks down the 3 ball. The United States in control. LeBron James with an education and elevation. Back with more. 86 to 44 with 4:50 to go in the third quarter, and why not smile, Amari Stoudemire? His team up big time here.
I was a little concerned coming into this game that the Virgin Islands might have trouble scoring the 30 points that the Texas Rangers put up in the baseball last night. They have come alive here, and the United States really has not played as well in the second and third quarters that they played in the first quarter. And a major problem in this 7-year decline of USA basketball. A nice 12-0 run for the United States in the last 3 minutes has been that in the tournaments they generally start really well. Another turnover for the Virgin Islands. They start really well, the United States does, and then they get overconfident, they get complacent, they get lax in their preparation, and things start to slip and slide on the downward slippery slope. And all of a sudden, you're playing against Greece, or you're playing against Lithuania, or you're playing against Argentina with a great point guard who gets hot, controls the flow. And that's why Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups have been added this year, to not let any of that creep in.
They've played with conviction from the opening tip in both games so far. A big sign if you're looking at a trend. Stoudemire missing the easy one underneath. Won't miss that one, though. The stick back. Amari Stoudemire, it's 90 to 44. Stoudemire, you think about where and how far he has come in the last year, coming off of 2 knee surgeries in a little over a year, with a microfracture surgery on one knee, and then had a cleaning out process, a scope on the other knee, unable to play a year ago at this time because of the rehab process. And He's a little slow to bounce back from that second one, Bill, but now looking very fine.
And with the United States doubling up plus the score on the Virgin Islands, Amari Stoudemire can work on his skill game as opposed to the power game. And that's really the next step for both Dwight Howard and Amari Stoudemire, is to get to that point of their role models they don't have the overwhelming size that Shaq, Kareem, Wilt had, and they need to get to that point where that, hey, when they're going to play against Shaq, because Shaq, I would anticipate Shaq's going to play, what, 4 or 5 more years?
He's got 3 years left on his contract in Miami, and said that he's going to play them out.
So they're going to have to be able to ultimately beat him, to try to beat Tim Duncan, who's going to play a lot more years. And so if they want to be the champions, they're going to have to get that game that Olajuwon and McHale had, which was total skill and able to beat guys who were bigger, stronger, faster, could jump higher. And that's when you know you're really playing ball. Great alley.
Nice play up top, but unable to convert. As Cuthbert Victor. Here's Kobe Bryant, kicks it out to Mike Miller.
Nice ball movement. They waved that one off with the offensive foul.
Not often you see Mike Miller put it on the deck. He had an open jump shot and elected to drive instead.
His ankle certainly appears to be fine. There was serious concern by the coaching staff, and an easy play to call with the left arm clear out.
6th man of the year a couple of seasons ago in the NBA. 8th year with the Memphis Grizzlies. Mike Miller has played in Orlando before being traded to Memphis. On the baseline, it's Cuthbert Victor again, fouled going to the bucket. Saw Mike Krzyzewski there on the sidelines a few moments ago, and Bill, this is not the first time that he has been involved with coaching the USA men's senior national team. He's been an assistant coach prior to taking over as the head coach last season for the World Championships. And I had an interesting discussion with one Kenny Anderson, former NBA player, who played on the 1990 World Championship team for the senior men's national team. And that, interestingly enough, was the last time that it was a group of collegians that would represent the United States. Because Kenny was telling me he very much remembers losing to the Croatians that summer in the Goodwill Games and in the World Championships. And after that, it was on. That's when, you know, as you mentioned the name yesterday, Boris Stankovic was instrumental in giving birth to the whole Dream Team concept. Just bucket good by Amari Stoudemire.
Well, that 1990 team in the FIBA World Championship, they took the bronze medal with a 6-2 record. But Krzyzewski has coached them all. He's coached the Olympic Festivals, the World University Games, the Goodwill Games, the Pan American Games, the FIBA Championships, America Championships like this one a long time ago. He was an assistant coach on the initial Dream Team.
Miller off the mark, rebounded by the Virgin Islands and Akeem Francis.
And all the while winning 3 NCAA championships at Duke, making it to the Hall of Fame already, and being the winningest coach in terms of number of games won career-wise in the history of the NCAA tournament.
Nice move by Mike Miller, tapped out of bounds by the Virgin Islands, but let's make no doubt about it. If he's not able to deliver a gold medal in the Olympics, his reputation is on the line here, Mike Krzyzewski, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of basketball, is that everyone's reputation is on the line every single game.
Stoudemire with the rebound off the red miss, and Amari Stoudemire taking it strong to the bucket. And will earn himself a couple of free throws. Stat is the nickname for Amari Stoudemire. Standing tall and talented, a self-professed and self-made manufactured acronym, and quite accurate, I would say. Aaron Williams checking into the ball game with 1:06 to go in the 3rd quarter.
Utah, a team that made such great progress last year, haven't really heard much about them this summer other than them allowing Derek Fisher to go to the Lakers, which was stunning to me because you know, Derek Fisher says one day I'm retiring from basketball to go and take care of my ill daughter, and then 10 days later signs with the Lakers, his old team, where he won 3 world champions or NBA championships.
I think he wanted to, the goal was to look for an environment that was conducive for the best medical help. Shepard driving to the bucket is fouled. Will get a chance for the three-point play, but Darren Williams really with the coming out part of this year in the backcourt for the Utah Jazz. Utah had that very fast start to the season, then kind of lost their steam a little bit. They incurred a bunch of injuries. Carlos Boozer, though, mostly unlike the previous 2 seasons, played most of the season, able to stay healthy most of the way, and before bowing out to the San Antonio Spurs, the Utah Jazz are serving notice that they'll be set. They're on the right course and path for the next few years.
Well, they did get Morris Almond, a great young player, to try to replace Derek Fisher, but Derek Fisher is a championship level player, and a big question, what are you going to do with Andrei Kirilenko, and will Memo Okur be able to play at the championship level the way he plays at the regular season level, where he was a well-deserved all-star this past season for the first time in his career.
Mari Stoudemire finishing off the alley-oop on the pass from Tayshaun Prince. 94-50, the United States in control from the opening tip. The USA will have tomorrow off before taking on Canada Saturday afternoon on ESPN2.
In a day game.
And that's going to be a problem, you think?
I prefer the day games.
Johnson Phillips out top.
I like to go to bed early.
There you go.
That's Southern California upbringing. Get to bed early so you can get up and enjoy the next one.
Training. Tayshaun Prince. Time winding down. Prince couldn't get the bank shot to go. And that's the end of the third quarter of play. 30 minutes in the books here at the FIBA Tournament of the Americas Championship 2007 from the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the middle of the desert. A place where perhaps the disembalming and disentombing of the gold medal hopes gets new life. Back after this. Back in Las Vegas, Nevada, the United States in control 94-50. Las Vegas, the site of last year's NBA All-Star game. What a weekend that was. A fantastic. Sure was. Kobe Bryant was the game's MVP, but one of the other highlights, Bill, at the celebrity game, I've never seen Carrot Top on the basketball court.
Really?
Yeah, he was there playing on Old Enough to see me play. I'm talking about the other Carrot Top.
Okay, so the United States is on pace to set their scoring record for the most points ever in a FIBA championship competition. Kobe Bryant is getting a little bit of ice on the knee. We would expect that with that sign, we will not see him again tonight. But in 1992, the first time the NBA players were allowed into the Olympics, the United States defeated Cuba 136-57, a 79-point victory. And that is the standard that was set early on, and we'll see if this squad tonight can come anywhere close.
94-50. It's interesting. You think back to the first play of Dream Team back in '92, and the stories are abound where when Magic Johnson was guarding a player from Lithuania at the Olympics, the Lithuanian players were yelling at the managers on the bench, "Take the picture quick." Magic, yeah. Now they don't look at us the same way. 96-50.
And that's because of the brilliance of Boris Stankovic and David Stern to realize that if they're going to grow the game globally, the Olympics, they should be for the best of the best. And the distinction between amateur and professionalism has totally disappeared. And you've got now Yao Ming from China, Yi from China, Dirk Nowitzki, the MVP of the regulars. A beautiful pass, Michael Red.
Red inside to Stoudemire, and stacked coming alive. Amari Stoudemire with the bucket, 98-50. Foul going to be called against Chauncey Billups. And the big three tonight, getting in a little bit of work before getting their rest. Carmelo with 17 points. Kobe was 22 points. Kobe with 9 and LeBron with 8.
Oh, Kobe Bryant only 4 shot attempts in 16 minutes. That's a remarkable stat in and of itself. One of the things that hurts the United States, Mark, is that when they're preparing for these tournaments in the friendly games and scrimmages that they play, the other teams don't do them any favors because they don't come out and try to win the game. They don't come out and try to prepare the United States. They just come out and just sort of lay down. So they don't play the zone defense.
Well, how do you get a good look? How do you assimilate what you're going to see outside of the United States getting a select team, and it's still not the same?
But that was a brilliant move again by Colangelo to figure that out, that the other teams weren't cooperating. Red, the left-hander, using the right on the throwdown. But in all the games we've done over the decades in international basketball, in the exhibitions, so many of the opponents, they come out and they play NBA-style basketball to try to get their game going, where the United States needs teams to play controlled, slow down, physical, zone defense, great point guard play, pick and roll. So they come into these tournaments, and granted, Venezuela and the Virgin Islands don't have the talent, but the other good teams around the land, the Argentines, the Spaniards, the Brazilians, teams that actually have a legitimate chance of maybe, if things all break their way, have a chance to win. They're coming out and saying, this is how we play this game, which is a totally different game for the United States NBA game.
7:18 to go. A blown layup by Miller inside, and it's tip in good. 7:11 to play. Mike Miller for three. And Miller showing no ill effects from that tweak of his ankle that he suffered yesterday against Venezuela. Knocks down a three-pointer.
But the way the game is different in the international competition is that it's a more physical game, the zone defense, the almost complete emphasis on the point guard and three-point shooting, pick and roll, and then the centers. Unlike what the United States has with Dwight Howard, Amari Stoudemire, and Tyson Chandler, a more well-rounded, less physically gifted players who play the high post game, shooting, passing.
Let me ask you this then, as LeBron hands it off to Darren Williams. Williams fires, comes up short. Chandler with the rebound. Why is it, though, that circa 1992 through 2000, the difference in the style between FIBA and NBA wasn't as much of a factor, yet it seems to be now?
Because the other teams have elevated their games because of the exposure, and all these youngsters around the world who were turning on their television sets and then saying, wow, did you see Michael Jordan? Did you see Magic Johnson? Did you see Shaquille O'Neal and Hakeem Olajuwon and David Robinson? Did you see Vince Carter and Jason Kidd and Kevin Garnett? And then they go out and they start practicing. And then as their game comes up, and the decline of some of the skills in the United States, but so few of the top players ever going to college and learning all the different things that the great historical players have done. And
there's Tyson Chandler
landing on LeBron's foot there. And you can only hope that he's okay. And Byron Scott, I'm sure, with his heart in his throat right now.
Thinking shut him down for the rest of the night. 5:38 to go, 106-54. I'm Mark Jones along with Bill Walton. Las Vegas, Nevada, the site for the Tournament of the Americas. The United States moving the ball well all night long, deep into the Vegas night. What a 21 points now from Michael Redd in the ball game.
The length of the court, right down the seam of the retreating defense. LeBron James, he has been superb throughout. He and Carmelo Anthony and Michael Redd have been the best players tonight.
I guess his ankle's okay after that block. Tyson Chandler.
But generally, you want to keep those blocks in. Yes, everybody goes crazy yelling cheer in the stands, but all it does is give the Virgin Islands a chance to run a set play out of bounds. Learn from Bill Russell, the master teacher.
Under 5 minutes to go. The United States will have tomorrow off and then take on Canada on Saturday. Here's Michael Redd inside. Nice feed to Miller, and Miller had it blocked at the rim.
Wild play by the Virgin Islands.
Things a little bit sloppy right now, and that's being nice. Miller finishes it off with the slam. You know, I'm going to bring this up, Bill.
But first, you've got a timeout. Okay. Yeah, the Virgin Islands are falling apart. I'm sorry, Mark. We'll get to your point right when we come back.
Natural segue to a break. We'll be back with more right after this. With a berth to the Olympics, and most recently, Australia defeating New Zealand recently to qualify and punch their ticket. So now 4 teams are in. China, Spain, Iran joining Australia.
And one of the reasons why the Americas tournament gets 2 qualifiers is because of the expected domination of the United States, and they don't want to just automatically eliminate everyone else. Every other region only gets 1 automatic berth. The Americas get 2.
There's Darren Williams with the steal. A great hustle to run it down. Kicks it out to Michael Redd. They're going to run a little offense. Darren Williams of the Utah Jazz, the 3rd string point guard on this team. But Jason Kidd has really taken Williams under his wing and taught him some of the subtle nuances of international basketball. And Williams cashes in with a baseline jumper from downtown.
The coaching staff for the United States are very impressed with the overall game of Darren Williams. The ability to shoot the mid-range shot, that long one to the corner, but also the rebounding and defense for Darren Williams. And I would like to correct myself that Europe, because of their historical dominance, they also get 2 automatic bids. So, like the United States in this tournament, all you have to do in the Europe qualifier is make it to the finals, and then you're automatically seeded into the Olympics.
Under 3.5 minutes to go. Tayshaun Prince missing at the other end. Shot from downtown by Edwin off the mark. Rebounded by Michael Redd. And Bill, a point that I was getting to before we went to commercial, somehow along the way, European style or international style has become equated with, perversely, I think, team basketball. Yet NBA somehow conjures up images of one-on-one break them down basketball. If I'm an NBA player and I've heard echoes of this sentiment, it comes as an affront, and it's a little insulting, frankly, to them.
Perception becomes reality. And what's happened is the NBA game has gone more to the guy who has the ball is looking to make his own play, as opposed to the point guard like a Steve Nash trying to set somebody up like a Lenny Wilkins or a Magic Johnson. Now, the United States coaches, particularly a Greg Popovich, has used that as a motivational tool over the years. Say, hey, look, who are we? How did we get here? And where are we going? And everyone yucking it up on the bench and waiting for the crowd to sing happy birthday to Kobe.
Back in 2003, when the United States drilled Argentina in this tournament of the Americas, beat them by 33 points in the finals, they were frankly tired of listening to Popovich, I'm told, talk about how well the Argentines played as a team, and they really put it on Argentina as a result. And that's the same Argentina team that next year, in 2004, went on to win the gold medal, due in part to the fact that only 3 players from the American team ended up making the trip to Athens because of quote-unquote personal and security reasons.
But that United States team in Athens, they lost 3 games. They lost the opener to Puerto Rico, where Carlos Arroyo just torched them. Then they lost to Lithuania, where Šarūnas Jasikevičius lit them up. And then you had Manu Ginobili, who is, when he's on his game, as great a lead player as there is in the world today.
Pass out of bounds. Redd trying to get it over to Miller. We're going to take a timeout. With the clock winding down.
Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups were not there now.
Back with more after this. Well, the largest margin of victory ever for the United States team is 79 points dating back to 1992. Right now, they lead by 61 points, and that would come up as the 2nd largest margin of victory ever. Panama lost by 60 to the U.S. That stands as number 2 right now. The margin in this one, 61.
As the gap has narrowed between the United States and the rest of the world.
Although you can't tell by the score.
No. but the Virgin Islands are ranked 38th in the world. And things are going to change this weekend, playing Canada and Brazil back-to-back in the afternoon day games, where they're number 15 and 16, Canada and Brazil. But in the 92 Olympics, the average margin of victory was 44 points per game. 4 years later, it's down to 32 points per game. 4 years later in Sydney, it's down to 21 points per game. And then in Athens, 4 years later, and just 3 years ago, the average margin of victory, even though the United States lost 3 games there, was 4.5 points per game. But the times, they're changing. You better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone.
Tyson Chandler with a nice follow off the Tayshaun Prince miss with 34 seconds to go. And there's a theory out there still, Bill, and some people buy into it, some don't, that if Vince Carter were on the team,
on this team here,
yes, and no slight to the guys that are on this team right now, but Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Kevin Garnett, Shaquille O'Neal still a force, how much different would it be? There are those that believe it would be like the old days. There are those that believe that the world is caught up a little bit still.
These players are more than capable of setting all the records they want. I'm with you. It still comes down to you have to respect the opposition. The United States, they came out on the opening tap and got it done, set a tone early, and able to just cruise to an easy.
The United States puts $1.23 on the board against the Virgin Islands, the second largest margin of victory ever for Team USA, as the United States improves now to 2-0 and sit atop the standings in Group B. And play of the game.
A lot to choose from. Dwight Howard gets it going, and Michael Redd beautifully sets it up for LeBron, who had so many throwdowns. LeBron James tonight, just 8 points in 18 minutes. Kobe Bryant, a very quiet 9 points, but it was Michael Redd with 22 points in only 19 minutes, and Carmelo Anthony, all
concerned in past seasons with the United States senior men's national team, but not tonight. And not yesterday when they shot 38% from downtown.
The United States played their best basketball in the first quarter tonight, and then after that they just cruised, and it was a series of highlight films. Carmelo Anthony was blistering early on. Kobe Bryant met no resistance the few times he did go to the hoop on his birthday. And Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, everybody getting involved. Jason Kidd, how much fun to play with him.
I know what Kobe Bryant got for his birthday. He got the Virgin Islands as a present. The final score, 122-59. Join us Saturday afternoon as the United States takes on Canada. 3 has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader of sports. For Bill Walton and entire gang, I'm Mark Jones saying good night from Las Vegas with a little string music to send you on your way.